Today we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to make these faux leather paper journals. And you can make them as big or as small or whatever designs you would like on them. But I'm just going to teach you how to do them and then you can go from there. There are 3 that I'm just going to show you. This is the one that we're actually doing the video on with the flowers on it. And you can see in the inside, this is a nice hefty journal. And this one is a chicken, and down here we've stitched the word scratch, chicken scratch, and just really cute too. And then I did a tiny one, and this one's a field journal, and I even added a pocket in there. But let's just get started. So I think I'm gonna start with showing you the supplies that you're gonna need for this project. So we are actually using paper bag, or you can use a heavy shipping paper. I'm using this file folder or a heavy cardstock that you're going to stamp on. We are going to need a fastener to hold your paper. So you can either get file folders that have that already, or just you can buy a box of little fasteners that you'll put into your book. Brown paint. I'll need some dark wax, a sealer, a dark stain. There's a couple stamps that we're going to be putting on there, and black ink. And then we're ready to go. So do you guys see something new? I had this beautiful mug made for me by Mudlicious, and she used the IOD molds with the rabbits and the flowers and things, but I just wanted to show it off. So when I did this project, I decided to make my sizes around the supplies I had. And I knew I was going to use a lot of paper inside the journal, so I have my 11 by 17 paper, and I can get 3 out of it if I do 5.5. So that's just how I decided to do it. So you're going to start by cutting the paper the size that you want in your journal. So after you've cut all your paper, I have just like the little end pieces, and I know it's the same distance in your punch, so you know where it's going, and make sure it's lined up. So you know it fits here in your fastener, and then you punch all your holes. So I'm going to be using either heavy shipping paper or a paper bag, and right here I just have a paper bag. So I'm just cutting up the one seam. This is the best way I've found to get the most use out of the bag. And then I'm going to cut the bottom off. So I have a nice big piece to use here. Then I just kind of measure and say, okay, how big? This is how I made the inner piece. I want my outside edges just a little bit bigger, as you can see. And I bring it up, and you can see that's how my depth is. And that's how I make my inside cover. My paper to be right here, and just a little bit of a space around. I tried to see the depth, and that is my spine, and then the top. And then what I did next, the inside in the center, and have just about an inch around the whole outside edges. So whatever size your inside is, and that's the actual size of your book, you just want to make it an inch taller, so you probably give 2 inches in height, 2 inches in length. So when you have your 2 pieces cut, what I'm going to do next is just take a cloth with some water on it and kind of dampen down this paper, and I'll show you why on the sides real quick, because we're going to crinkle it up, and when it's really hard, sometimes it's more apt to rip. And so what I'm going to do is carefully crinkle it all up into a ball. And you really don't want to drench it, you just want to get it damp. And I'm going to do that with the large sheet too. Just be a little careful so you don't rip it. And let's just open these little guys up. Okay, now we are going to iron. So you can use either a steam-a-seam, a heat and bond, any fusible web that you like using. I'm leaving some of the wrinkles in this And some will get ironed out, but some won't. And I'm just laying my steam-a-seam on the larger piece. And I am going to just iron this onto here. And if you cut it too big, it's going to stick to your towel or your ironing board. So when it's pulled off, you're just going to pull the sheet off. And I had drawn my little score lines here in the center, or lines where my spine would be. So I knew where that was going, where I was going to fold. And so what I'm doing is just laying this in the center, and I'm just going to eyeball it and lay it down. And the only reason I'm doing this is that it gives you a nice finished look on the inside. I'm just going to iron this top edge, actually this will be the bottom edge. I'm just going to iron this bottom edge down real quick just to hold it so it stays in place. Okay, so this is where we're going to put our fastener in. I'm just going to use this because it makes it a little easier. But if you use just the regular fasteners, you just want to put it through a piece of cardboard or a piece of file folder or a piece of cardstock. And I'll show you, I'm going to cut it out. And I know I don't have much room, so I have about an inch. So I'm just going to cut this. So normally, if you were just using the fastener, you would cut an inch by maybe, however wide this is, just a little smaller. So when you have this trimmed down a little, whether you just use a fastener and stick it through a piece of cardstock, or it's on one of these folders that it's already on. These ones just happen to be a little longer too. So you're going to line it up, and you don't want to line from the large paper. So you look where your spine is, you look where the end of your book is, and I just kind of eyeball where is the center between there and there. And I know it's going to be up higher, but I'm just going to mark my little dots so I know where to bring it through. Right here and right here. So all I'm doing is just making holes through the top and through this piece right here. Gonna put that in there. And then we're going to iron the rest of this down. Okay, so now where you have your crease lines, fold in where the spine goes. And I found just using a ruler really worked the best. Just put it on the line that you drew. Okay, let's get to the next part. So whatever you want to put on the front of your journal, or maybe you don't want to put anything. I'm going to stamp these flowers from my Painterly Roses stamps from IOD. And so I'm just going to stamp these onto a cardstock. And you don't have to stamp this perfect because you're going to have to re-stamp it later, but enough to get your sizes and your images. And I know I'm going to use 3 of these leaves. And then I'm going to do 2 stems.
So next you're going to want to iron your heat and bonder steam seam or your fusible web to the back of this. And after you've ironed that on, then we're going to cut all these out. So after you've cut everything out, I'm just going to pull my papers off, and whatever designs you're using, you're going to line it on the front of your journal cover. So you want to make sure your paper holder's at the top on the back because you don't want to do it upside down. I'm just going to open this up and find a cute way to line these up. And since you have this folded, you can see where your spine is going to be, so you have a guide there. And I'm going to iron these down. Okay, now we're going to get sewing. So I'm just going to start by sewing all the way around the outside edge. Don't forget you have your metal thing here, so you want to stay close to the edge when you're doing your seam. So make sure you're using a heavy duty needle to go through all these layers of paper. And I'm also going to sew where my spine is. And you kind of have to curl your book. Now I know this is where my fastener is, so I just want to be really careful that I stay close to the top on this edge. And I thought I would do some fun lines, but you can do as much or as little sewing as you would like. So now I'm going to sew through some of my cardstock pieces just to make sure they're on really nice and tightly. And you can get as detailed or as simple as you want on these. So the last part of the sewing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go around this piece to this piece so I can secure it in. And I'm going to do this from the back side so I can see where the metal is. Okay, so let's cut all our strings and get started painting. So I'm going to start painting it now, and I'm just going to use a brown paint. If I had a darker brown, I might have used that, but it doesn't really matter because we're going to be using different stains and things over it too. So I think I'm just going to start with the inside. Just a little bit of water and just paint this whole guy. So let's get this side to dry and then we'll do the other side. We're just going to paint over all of this. And actually I put the back of my steam paper behind it. It's plastic and it looks really great for this project because this is kind of a messy project. Let's try this. So when your paint is dry, now we're going to stain it. And I'm using a dark walnut, but you can use whatever color you want. And once again, this is really good to have that plastic layer from your steam-a-seam behind this. So I'm going to want this to dry now. So you really want to make sure it's really, really dry. So if you're going to use a hair dryer when you're drying it, it's still going to be a little tacky because it's warm, but just give it a second. And that's going to be okay because it's just stain just takes a while and I'm not rubbing it off, but just so that most of it's dry. And now we're going to put a wax on. So now I'm going to put my dark wax on. Okay, let this dark wax set in for a few minutes and then we'll get to the next step. So what I did is I used my hair dryer, but most hair dryers have like a cool setting if you push the button because you don't want it to get hot and melt the wax more, but enough to kind of get it to set. And it still might be a teeny bit tacky because you still have stain underneath, all that dark wax. But now I am gonna put just a clear sealer over it and you'll see something fun. And I'm just rubbing it around and it takes some of it off. You can see that? And that's how you kind of get that cool look. And dry this side first. Let's do the other side now. You can see where you've rubbed. You're seeing some of the areas come on. Let's try this. So now I'm going to restamp my images. And so when I lined them up on here, I tried not to overlap too much, so it was easy to restamp them. And you just kind of have to look carefully. So after you're done stamping, just do a real light sand. You just don't want to sand so hard that you sand your stitches. I'm just going to do a quick sealer over the whole thing again. And just a real light coat, so we're not trying to rub anything off, and we've already sealed it once, so it shouldn't be taking anything else off, but you're going to get a nice sheen to this. Okay, let's get this to dry. So now we want to make sure that it's really, really nice and dry. I'm going to show you how you put the paper in, but I noticed with my other ones it was better if I waited a day or so I didn't get anything on my white paper, but I'm just going to show you how I put it in here. So like I said, you want to make sure this is really dry before you put your paper in, but for the sake of showing you how to do it, I'm just going to put it in, and if I have to, I'll take the bottom sheet out. is all the paper that we had cut and hole punched earlier. Okay, so now I'm just gonna put the top of my fastener on here. And I thought, just for fun, I'm just gonna put my little dragonfly on the front. Well, so I hope you guys had fun with this, and you can see the ones that we've done. This one I sanded a little bit more. This one not as much, and this one quite a bit. But now that you've got the technique down, you can do any design, any shape, any size that you want, but whatever you do, have fun. Thanks for watching.